What's going on, everybody? I just wanted to quickly compile some of the stuff from the most recent stream I did over on Twitch, where I checked out this brand new FF7 remake theory. I think it holds some weight. I've reacted to the entire original video, and the original video will be linked in the description and the top comment if you want to go and check that out. But here we go. This is why FF7 Remake exists.
What if I were to tell you that all along, from the very beginning, and especially right up to the end, Sephiroth has been telling us the answers to all of our questions, right in front of us the whole time, with many of the elements in Rebirth further expanding our understanding and supporting that assertion. What I'm about to present to you is something I haven't seen many people discussing, so let's break it all down.
Get ready, people. Get ready.
The first concept we're going to explore is the nature of the planet itself and how it actually functions. Here are some of the things we know about the planet of Gaia, as well as some associated questions for which we may not have all the answers at this time. According to Bugenhagen, planetology is, in part,
not simply the study of the cosmos and the celestial bodies that dwell in it. Rather, it is a quest to comprehend the cyclical nature of life.
That means that life and the planet operate in a
cycle of continuous convergence and divergence,
which can be studied.
So essentially, as we know, all that's saying is what was born from the planet returns to the planet, is reborn into something else. That could be a human, they die, their essence goes back to the live stream, their spirit lives on in the live stream, but their core being becomes something else, whether that be, you know, trees, whether that be nature, whether that be a new human, all that kind of stuff. What is born from the planet returns to the planet. That's the basic gist of that.
We also know mankind was born from its soil, and upon death, the body withers and returns to the planet.
There.
Similarly, the mind, spirit, soul comes from the life stream, and at the time of death,
our bodies may disappear when we die, but our spirits still live on.
Yeah.
We return to the planet, rejoin the life stream, and in time give rise to new life.
We also know the life stream is
an apt name, though it is as much a reservoir as it is a stream, being the sum of the planet's spiritual energy.
The life stream is also comprised of the accumulated memories, emotions, knowledge, hopes, and dreams of every individual who has ever lived.
It is the very essence of our star, the blood coursing through its planetary veins. And if ever that essence were to be entirely depleted,
the planet runs out of energy. It and everything on it dies.
The planet needs the life stream to survive. And the planet has a will of its own.
The flow of the great river that is the planet, from inception to oblivion.
And it exercises that will via the Whispers. The Whispers are
perhaps best described as arbiters of fate. They are drawn to those who attempt to alter destiny's course and ensure they do not.
Like capital D, destiny? And you're saying that that flow is somehow fixed?
So if we're destined for a bleak future, these Whispers will try to keep us on that course?
Keep in mind, the first sort of like, I'd say quarter of this video is basically just explaining things we already know, just to make sure that any newcomers who are kind of new to the whole theory world of FF7, Remake, Rebirth in general, just to make sure they are sort of up to date with everything that's going on and what we actually know as opposed to what we're theorizing. So the first sort of like, first little while is basically everything we know.
They're led by the Whisper Harbinger, which is a weapon just as much as those featured in Rebirth. The Whispers exist and function across all worlds which make up the planet. The Whispers can only be seen by those who defy destiny, or when coming into contact with someone who attempts to alter the course of destiny.
Are you blind?
And as introduced in Rebirth,
the planet encompasses a multitude of worlds, ever unfolding.
This line pretty much debunks a lot of people's theories, saying that there's not multiple worlds. There quite literally is. Sephiroth says it right here. The planet encompasses a multitude of worlds ever unfolding. What that means, whether there's just an unlimited amount of worlds that keep expanding, like the universe, or something else, I guess we'll find out. Let's keep watching.
Some quickly perish, while others endure. Yet even the most resilient worlds are doomed to fade.
This new and mysterious concept of multiple worlds was fascinating for open-minded players who wanted the Final Fantasy VII they knew and loved, but more significantly expanded. Personally, I fell into this camp myself. As it turns out, such a prospect was concerning for players of the OG Final Fantasy VII, who would have preferred for Square Enix to have made an exact one-to-one remake of the original PS1 game with better visuals on modern hardware. In fact, this sentiment was vocalized enough that after Remake debuted in 2020, fans began to speculate whether the Whispers, and their role as custodians to maintain the sacred course of the story's events, were a meta-level reference by the developers to represent purist fans' desires for zero change to the original game.
It's not.
The creatives behind Remake and Rebirth obviously made another call, however, and the concept of these worlds has become canon. But when and how does the planet decide to form these new worlds? And what causes them to be created?
So that line there, when and how does the planet, forge these worlds, and when and how are they created? My original theory was something to do with Cloud himself, not the planet. Well, they go hand in hand. So my original theory was that Cloud's subconscious, which is a location we visit in the OG FF7 when Tifa and Cloud are in the live stream, and Tifa is helping Cloud escape his mind, essentially, or fix his mind. The location we're in, if you pause the game or go into the menu at that point, is called Cloud's subconscious, and that is within the live stream. So within the live stream, you actually have access to view people's memories, it seems. So my thought process was that Cloud's subconscious was creating worlds based on memories that he'd had across the entire compilation, right? We've got Crisis Core, we've got OG FF7, we've got 7 Remake, we've got 7 Rebirth, we're going to have 7 Part 3, we're going to have Advent Children, all of these versions of Cloud throughout a timeline, I believe all exist within the live stream all at once. I think in the live stream, I believe that sort of time flows differently. I feel like all of it's already happened. Hence the whole Destiny theme and Remake. It's all already happened within the live stream. And what happens is all of these worlds are already created. And my belief is that it's Cloud's subconscious that is sort of bringing life to these worlds and allowing things. This theory kind of dives in a different direction, but I still think I can try and sort of link these worlds together, these theories together. But we'll get into that. Let's listen to this last part just quickly again.
And the concept of these worlds has become canon. But when and how does the planet decide to form these new worlds? And what causes them to be created? Based on the information available in Rebirth, it appears one way these worlds are born comes through a divergence from the intended will of the planet. When choices are made which branch from the course of destiny, it appears new worlds are potentially made as represented by a rainbow effect seen in Rebirth.
Not to mention the whole idea of being able to view these different worlds from within the live stream. like Cloud and Sephiroth, whether it's just like some insane magic power from Sephiroth just showing this to Cloud, or if it's literally within the live stream and they're able to view these worlds and what's happened, kind of like an interstellar moment, being outside of time, outside of all of that, and you know, seeing events from the past, different, you know, things like that. Is this a moment like that, or is this just Sephiroth being Sephiroth, you know?
New worlds are potentially made as represented by a rainbow effect seen in Rebirth. However, in order for an individual to break from the will of the planet, a world containing that person must already exist in the first place. So it's reasonable to conclude that the planet also materializes worlds and populates them with all forms of life by tapping into the spiritual energy of the life stream, as stated by Bugenhagen previously. Additionally, one Rebirth NPC also theorizes that the planet may even create worlds from more metaphysical sources as well.
So, my parents are no longer with us, here, that is, but I believe they're still out there, on another plane. I've been reading a bunch of theories about this alternate world in the hope of going there someday. And over the course of my studies, I stumbled across a fascinating theory. It addressed the issue of what the life stream is, arguing that spiritual energy is actually a manifestation of our knowledge and memories. Like I said, it's a fascinating theory, but it's incomplete. What about our hopes and dreams? We remember those, don't we? So what if spiritual energy doesn't distinguish between our real, lived memories and the unrealized desires buried deep in our hearts?
It's that line from an NPC in Cosmo Canyon that is completely missable that led me to sort of jump onto the Cloud subconscious, you know, his real lived memories, things that have already happened, but also the unrealized desires, things that haven't happened. You know, and all these worlds created. Unrealized desires such as Zack surviving at the end of Crisis Core instead of being gunned down outside of Midgar. As we've seen at the end of Remake, Zack survived. Is that Aerith's unrealized desire? Is that one of Cloud's unrealized desires, you know, saving his friend? All this kind of thing, you know. What is actually happening here? There's a lot to speculate, whether it's the will of the planet creating these worlds and creating these differences, or if it's someone else meddling, whether it's Sephiroth doing something for a certain reason, or whether it is, like I said, Cloud's subconscious and his unrealized desires and his lived memories all creating these different trickles of worlds and different things going on.
What if coming into contact with that energy allowed us to peer through the looking glass, so to speak? It's just an idea, but I hope to find the truth someday.
Aerith seems to back up this theory by indicating that one world was,
let's just call it a dream. My dream, to be precise.
Was Aerith able to manifest the date world via the life stream using her hopes and dreams? We also know that all inhabitants of Gaia seem to have separate existences across these disparate worlds. But how exactly does this process work when a consciousness re-enters the life stream and helps in the creation of a new life? I think there's three main possibilities. Is a person's spiritual energy diffused and used to create new, completely different life within the same world where they died? Or is a completely new life created, but in a different world instead? Or, hear me out, are the people reborn as themselves, but in a different world? So their spiritual energy remains, but when new life is born out of the life stream, it's still them.
Or, a third option, is it just transferred? Are your memories, hopes, desires transferred to yourself in a different world? Think of Biggs, when he died in Remake, transferred to the second world with Zack, had all the memories from the first world, was living in the second world, had no idea what was going on, right? Is it a case of you transfer? You know, I mean, think about the versions of Aerith Tifa Barrett that died in the opening to the game in Zack's world. Think about those characters that died. Have they potentially transferred their consciousness, their memories, all of that to another world? Not necessarily our playable world that we play in the game, but potentially another version, another world that they're all alive in. Have those memories sort of crossed over? And potentially when the worlds converge, the reunion, like Sephiroth's trying, is there going to be a whole lot of unforeseen circumstances that Sephiroth has not thought of, such as, you know, all these memories and all these experiences of each version of these people that are alive and all of these worlds that are created. Sort of all the knowledge is being gathered, and when the worlds converge, everyone is, you know, super knowledgeable, super beings, and can fight against what it is we're fighting against, you know? Is it going to backfire on Sephiroth again? Most likely, but you know, this is just crackhead theories, man. I love this shit.
Sephiroth is aware this multitude of world exists and is, at least in some manner, connected as one conscious being across the worlds. He also appears to exist outside of any specific world at the edge of creation as well. Sephiroth also uses the black robes to physically...
Sorry for pausing again. I keep doing this. But that whole thing about Sephiroth being like one being across all the worlds, and sort of being able to like travel between the worlds with no real issue. All that makes me think about, and it's very fitting, is the fact that Gilgamesh has been added into Rebirth. Interdimensional travel. Traveling between worlds. It's kind of Gilgamesh's shtick, you know? And now that they're adding all of these worlds, they suddenly add Gilgamesh to FF7. I don't think it's somewhat of a coincidence. And especially having Gilgamesh tied to Chadley and Sephiroth. Like, Sephiroth was part of the Gilgamesh quest. He showed up. So, like, that level of, I guess, storytelling, with Gilgamesh obviously being the character from Final Fantasy that travels between all of the worlds. It's the same Gilgamesh in every instance that we see him, from Final Fantasy V all the way through to Rebirth as the most recent one. Yeah, it's not really stupid to think that, you know, that's kind of connected with the overarching story of FF7 and the whole interdimensional, like, traveling between worlds, such as Sephiroth's doing. There's a link there. I don't know exactly what the reason is for it, but there's definitely a link, and there's a reason why they've added Gilgamesh. There's no, outside of like fan service and saying like, hey, here's a popular Final Fantasy character, like, there's no reason to add Gilgamesh to this game at such a deep level with like the proto relics and all of that, and collecting all that stuff just to visit Gilgamesh. Like, there's no reason for it unless there's like an additional level of storytelling, like a new way to tell the story. And that interdimensional idea is fitting, definitely. I just wanted to get that out there because I just linked that with obviously Sephiroth being traveling through worlds and stuff. It just made me think of Gilgamesh, and obviously he's just been added to Rebirth, which is kind of random because he wasn't in 7 OG.
Connected as one conscious being across the worlds. He also appears to exist outside of any specific world at the edge of creation as well. Sephiroth also uses the black robes to physically manifest himself and exert control and manipulation of people and events. Based on Aerith's uncanny knowledge of events during Remake,
he's my bodyguard. And a soldier. Pretty cool, huh?
Huh?
I guessed. From the sword.
and certain sequences of Rebirth.
Whatever happens, don't blame yourself.
Is there enough evidence to deduce that Aerith also possesses some power which is not contained to singular worlds?
I don't think Aerith herself travels between worlds. but I think she has the knowledge, obviously being able to contact the live stream and talk to the planet. She has the knowledge that other worlds exist and other Aeriths exist, and she can converse with herself. And I think this whole Aerith, this omniscient Aerith that we talk about all the time, I feel like she has the knowledge of all of them in some capacity. She can contact or channel herself through each Aerith, which is why at moments like this, real serious moments, like beforehand, Aerith doesn't really seem to have much idea of what's going on, and then we get to a serious moment and she's just completely knowledgeable. She's a whole different person. We see glimpses of that throughout the entire games, like Remake and Rebirth. She's without knowledge. She's scared of the whispers. She's swatting them away. She doesn't know what the hell is going on. And then, you know, an hour later, she's inside the bloody Shinra building. She's lost her memories, and then the memories come back, and then the memories are gone. It's like, yeah, because someone's like channeling through her. And I believe it's this omniscient Aerith. I don't think she can travel between worlds, much like I don't believe Sephiroth. Yeah, I don't know about Sephiroth, whether he does, he's just that guy, and he travels between these worlds as one person, or if he exists in all of these worlds and just shares the consciousness somehow. It's hard to say, but I really love this video and all the points it brings up.
What do you mean?
I just realized we're only 9 minutes in and I've been recording for 23 minutes. Get your shit together, Tom. Shut your mouth.
All made whole forever.
There's no such thing as forever.
We also learned that worlds that are fading or about to expire have a rift which becomes visible in the sky. What's the nature of this rift and what does it exactly represent? If we take a look at Zack's experiences, a rift was not present in the skies of the Terrier world during the opening prologue of Rebirth. Zack only first sees it after being told by Elmyra that people are saying the world is ending. But Elmyra and the other NPCs of the Sector 5 slums seem to have known about the rift for a while, and they most certainly wouldn't have grappled with why it was in the sky or what it meant in the short time it took for Zack to move Aerith and hide away from Shinra until Elmyra could come to them. So the reasonable conclusion is Zack couldn't have seen it at first, but then only could after Elmyra mentioned it and recent events caused Zack to feel as though the world or his world could be ending. Are these rifts only visible to people who have accepted that the world is going to end? And is that why only Cloud can see the one at the end of Rebirth, but the rest of the party cannot?
Don't look up.
Well, now I gotta look.
So if you've watched my other theory video, obviously my theory here was Cloud with his subconscious and being like having access to all these worlds or having some link to all of these worlds, whether he created them or not with his subconscious, I don't know. But the only reason I see Cloud seeing this rift in the sky is because he is in fact between worlds. Like he's living in multiple worlds at the same time. He's like bouncing between them. And so he can see a rift in the sky, but no one else can, because this canon world, this default world that we play the game in, is not doomed to end at this stage. Like it's going to endure, whereas the world that Cloud's in is not. So he has some sort of presence in each world. This is my problem. I have these ideas, but I can never link them or like give evidence behind them, which is why I love this kind of video, because it actually has evidence that backs it up. I can't do this with my theories, man.
Fine, but don't let it get to you.
Don't let what get to me?
Now that we've discussed at least 3 potential ways the various worlds might be created, how are these different versions of Gaia connected via the lifestream? Do they share one lifestream? Does each world have their own measure of the lifestream? And how or why do worlds endure or fade at different paces? Is the length of their survival based on their own shares of the lifestream? While we don't have enough information to make a concrete determination one way or the other about how the worlds exist and interact with the lifestream,
Theory crafting, it's all a canvas, right? It's fucking Claire is doing. Final Fantasy VII has nothing to do with anything. It's all Claire and Mael and Aline and Renoir. This is Expedition 32, baby.
We do know a few details with which we can establish a small foundation to build upon in Part 3. All worlds are connected via the lifestream, as demonstrated by Cloud seeing through to Aerith's dream world while he was sleeping. Or when Aerith could feel Zack's hand.
Yeah. See, there's so many links in this game that if you just play through it without thinking, all of this goes over your head. Like, all of this goes over a casual player's head. You will not see this kind of stuff, and you will not link it. Like, Aerith putting her hand in the live stream and then going, what? You're not gonna link it without, like, actually analyzing it. There's a lot of storytelling in this way throughout the Remake Rebirth series. Why is this in 720p? That's much better.
We do know that it is possible for an individual world's portion of the lifestream to dry up, as we saw that happen at the empty reactor in Rebirth.
Seems it's all out of Mako. Pump's still sucking away, but the only thing it's pulling up is dirt.
Meaning?
That the lifestream's bone dry. Bomb one reactor, bomb them all. Planet's done either way.
We also know worlds can be united or parted through external influence which doesn't come from the planet, such as when Sephiroth parted Cloud and Zack at the end of Rebirth, or when Sephiroth sent Zack between worlds at the church.
Or when Aerith sent Cloud.
And we know worlds can also be merged into one another via external intervention, which seems at least in part what Sephiroth is up to. What effect does this merger have on the inhabitants of those worlds?
Listen to this.
And how does this type of merger impact the lifestream?
Listen.
Sephiroth also clued us into the idea that something feeds off of negative energy such as despair and grief. Either Sephiroth himself, Jenova, or the unification of these worlds. But why is Sephiroth trying to feed the planet with negative energy?
War can put things right, beget anger, desolation, hatred, and in its wake, new unity. A people rejuvenated, and a planet once more made whole.
And as a last question around this concept of a multitude of worlds, did they always exist and the planet has always been made up of them? I want to dig into that point specifically next, as I believe all of the lore and information we've already reviewed from Remake and Rebirth can aid us in not only understanding the mechanics of how the planet and its worlds function, but provide us with a fairly reasonable answer to this question and its greater impact on what's to come. But before we can start putting these pieces together, there's one more topic which looms over everything in Remake and Rebirth, which must be discussed.
Listen to this right now.
There's still so much we don't know about Jenova. Obviously, the devs have been intentional about holding back key pieces of information to be revealed in Part 3. But even if we look across the entire compilation of Final Fantasy VII, from the original game to now, so much of the lore around Jenova has just never been explored. And while we don't have anywhere close to a puzzle box to know what the picture will ultimately resemble, I do think Remake and Rebirth presented us with just enough pieces that we can begin fitting them together and get a rough idea of what parts of it will look like. Let's review what we do know. Jenova came from space and crashed on Gaia roughly 2,000 years ago.
Long ago, a wound marred the northern lands.
The specimen found in strata dating back 2,000 years smiled with what could only be described as ethereal grace. She needed a name, and so I dubbed her Jenova.
This raises the question of how Jenova actually came to Gaia. Did Jenova arrive via the Gi's homeworld that it had already consumed? When Guy Natak is narrating during the final battle of the Gi village, he describes the end of their homeworld.
With the passing of eons, the star we called home began to wane, until at last it was subsumed by your own. The earth shook, seas boiled, skies shattered.
With the passing of eons, the star we called home began to wane, until at last it was subsumed by your own. I think a lot of us, when we played through this part, because of how fucking annoying the battles were with the Gi, we kind of glossed over the dialogue. I know I did, because like there's so much substance to the dialogue from Gi Natak and the rest of the Gi series, like section. There is so much dialogue and it is so juicy to the plot. And I did not listen to much of it. I don't think.
Until at last it was subsumed by your own. The earth shook, seas boiled, skies shattered, and time stopped. Few of my people survived the chaos and calamity. Those who did began a new life here. But to the planet, we were not welcome. Not in life, nor in death.
Yeah.
Jenova is referred to as the Calamity from the Skies and is a destroyer of worlds. And according to Bugenhagen, the Gi arrived many millennia ago. Is it possible that these two are connected? One additional possibility is that the Gi summoned Jenova via the black materia before the Cetra could steal it. Guy Natak stated,
"From the planet, we claim the greatest of materia, a most sacred treasure, and imbued it with our desire for freedom. After an eternity, the materia began to stir, and thus did we rejoice, knowing that salvation was within our grasp."
Perhaps as the Cetra locked away the black materia, Jenova arrived as a result. Or is there some other explanation entirely for Genova's arrival? Jenova also possesses an ability to mimic the dead.
Though in time we triumphed over the calamity visited upon us by the stars, tragedy would nevertheless be our ultimate reward. For the children of men feared us. For the children of man envied us. Perhaps their enmity was seeded by our celestial adversary. None can say. A deceiver that stole the faces of the dead, of mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers lost. With their voices did it sow the seeds of discord among our people, among the children of man.
The Cetra were the original stewards of the planet prior to Jenova's arrival, and they could communicate with the planet to understand its desires and needs. And we know the Cetra stood against Jenova, just as they did the Gi.
It has ever been our sacred duty to protect our planet against any who would threaten it. They who came from without were one such threat.
Lastly, we know that Jenova was successful in basically killing off pretty much almost all of the Cetra.
Alas, the ancients themselves are long gone. 2,000 years ago, a meteor brought an end to their civilization.
Regardless, we had been forsaken by fate, abandoned to unquenchable anger and unbearable grief, condemned and driven forth, powerless to forestall the coming of our end. For the planet did we lay down our lives in battle, and in death returned to her embrace.
But before their fiery end, did the ancients find their promised land? Even now, we have only to wonder.
However, since Jenova did not originate from the life stream, it couldn't rejoin the life stream, just as the Gi could not.
Those not born of the life stream can never join its flow. One cannot return to that from which one did not arise.
Yet our adversary did not. Could not. Thus did it fall into a deep slumber. And in the long silence of its sleep, it was given the name Jenova.
Jenova.
Now that we've explored the nature of the planet, its multiple concurrent realities, the life stream which bridges them, and the external entity known as Jenova, I'll start to fit some of the puzzle pieces together in a manner which makes the most sense to me. And to do so, I'll start where we left off a moment ago and work backwards. How exactly did the Cetra manage to stop Jenova? Jenova was a life force from beyond the Cetra's own world. Its nature was unknown to the ancients, and Jenova possessed the power to adjust its appearance, speech, and behaviors to imitate other creatures. We know from the scene in the Temple of the Ancients that the Cetra teamed up with humans to fight Jenova. From what we've learned, the Cetra essentially went almost extinct, and the only result their alliance with the humans could muster was to force Jenova into a form of stalemate and stasis. But how was this achieved? Perhaps the Cetra knew enough about the planet to be aware of its multiple worlds, and how the lifestream connects them. But even if they did, how would that help them in their battle to subdue Jenova? Here's the reasonable explanation to me, and the case I'll make for how the blurry picture on the puzzle box looks to me by the end of Rebirth. The planet was once whole, and served as the home of the ancients until the arrival of Jenova. Recognizing they were unable to beat this alien entity, and with the survival of the planet they loved at stake, they were forced to split their home into multiple realities. The first rainbowed action, perhaps? The Cetra used their knowledge of the lifestream to divide the planet into a multitude of worlds.
Interesting. So this completely, if this is correct, this kind of debunks my theory that Cloud is creating these worlds, because obviously this happened 2,000 years before the events of FF7. This is 2,000 years prior, essentially, or maybe not exactly 2,000 years, but like it's that long ago that the Ancients and Jenova sort of had their battle. If this is the case, and the Ancients are the ones that split the world, well, actually, let me let him finish this part, because it all kind of intertwines.
By doing so, Jenova, who was unable to be absorbed into the lifestream, was instead pulled apart and splintered across all those worlds.
It makes sense considering all the different, the different types, the different fights we have with Jenova, and they're all like kind of different beings. They all look different. They all have different things about them. It's potentially the case that just each part of Jenova is just split to a new world. How that works thematically with the game, and how that works with the overarching story going forward will be interesting. But I mean, it makes sense as to why Sephiroth wants to rejoin all the worlds. This is the ultimate reunion. In the past, in OG FF7, throughout Remake, throughout Rebirth, we've seen the whole reunion being used multiple times. And obviously, the canon of the game is the reunion is all of the black robes with the Jenova cells reuniting at the northern crater. All of that. But perhaps there's a deeper meaning behind it. Perhaps it's got really not all that much to do with the black robes and the Jenova cells, and everything to do with the fragmented Jenova between worlds. That is a crackhead theory, and I subscribe to it completely. But in doing so, and believing in this, it completely debunks my theory about Cloud. Which is why potentially if the Cloud subconscious theory has weight and is real, then we need to alter what exactly is happening with Cloud subconscious, because he's not creating the worlds if this is the case. The ancients did that. The ancients, with their manipulation and their ability to use the life stream in some way, have created and fragmented reality, essentially, and sending parts of Jenova away with it. So Jenova is no longer whole, so we can actually like tackle Jenova in each world respectfully.
It's reasonable.
Respectfully? That's not even what I mean. Disrespectfully. Fuck you, Jenova.
To conclude across all those worlds. It's reasonable to conclude that the Cetra, having immense and intimate knowledge of the planet and the life stream, might have been the first to break the will of the planet, with the understanding that it would split the planet into multiple worlds, and that all life of the planet would continue via the life stream. However, Jenova would be unable to wreak havoc upon the planet in its disassembled state. It's also fairly plausible that the Whispers were created by the planet as a reaction to the Cetra's defiance and subsequent disappearance. Without the Cetra to care for it, the planet may have formed its first weapon, the Whisper Harbinger, as a means of ensuring its own will is followed. Based on this theory, the events which play out on an individual world are unable to bring about a final resolution for Sephiroth, Jenova, or the Gi, because those events are contained to that single reality. As such, it stands to reason that in order for anything to truly affect these aspects of our story, the disparate worlds of the planet would need to come back together, a homecoming of sorts. And since we have yet to see anything across all of the worlds of Final Fantasy VII that resembles the actual Promised Land...
This isn't the Promised Land. I mean, just look around. It can't be. Not with all this sadness and anger.
This place. Is it the Promised Land?
I'm sorry, but I don't think it is.
Of course. Figures.
The idea of the Promised Land being like a physical state of the world instead of an actual place, like a physical state of the world being whole, being the Promised Land, is kind of a cool theory. And it makes sense as to why Sephiroth is searching for the Promised Land by, you know, reuniting the worlds, converging all the worlds back together. That is his ultimate goal throughout Remake and Rebirth. We've never understood why. This is an awesome reason as to why. Sephiroth is trying to rebuild reality back whole, not for good intentions though, but to rebirth Jenova and make Jenova whole again. Bring back the calamity of the skies. At the moment, we're only seeing like glimpses and fragments of Jenova.
It's also logical that the scriptures passed down by the ancients tell of a time when the planet they loved would once again be made whole, a thought which, to them, probably seemed like a distant promise to return the land back to how it was before.
Unto her promised land shall we one day return. By her loving grace and providence, may we take our place in paradise.
If this is truly how the puzzle fits together, it appears Sephiroth may have figured out the box's cover art as well, with his words and actions backing it up. Let's evaluate what we know about Sephiroth and his master plan based on what has been presented in Remake and Rebirth. Cloud believes
he wants to finish what he started. He wants to reclaim his birthright and rule over the planet with Jenova at his side.
Aerith seems to think he's going against the way that things should be.
And you're wrong. Everything about you is wrong. There's no such thing as forever. No. You're wrong.
And also, while I'm sitting here, perhaps one of the reasons why Sephiroth seems to be, for the most part, unaffected by the whispers is because Sephiroth is trying to rebuild the world, like bring the world back as one, fix the world. Although he has a darker motive behind it, an ulterior motive, the life stream and the planet created the harbinger of the whispers and the whispers to keep things on course, stop things from changing as a result of the ancients, you know, fragmenting the world and fragmenting Genova. Perhaps the world and the planet and the live stream is using the whispers as a way to bring it back whole, because it itself is hurting as a result, but not knowing that bringing itself back together is going to bring back Genova as well at full strength. Which is why it seems that Sephiroth has control of the whispers. I mean, outside of obviously Sephiroth absorbing them in Remake and stuff like that and having whatever, controlling Destiny, he seems to not be affected by them ever. Like, they don't even go after him at all.
We also know Sephiroth doesn't want Cloud to die. Rather, he wants Cloud's help.
I have a favor to ask. Our beloved planet is dying. Slowly, silently, painfully. Can you bear to see the planet suffer? Cloud. That which binds us together would be no more, and I would be loath to live in such a world, which is why I must ask you this one favor. Don't worry, it's a simple thing. Run, Cloud. Run away. You have to leave. You have to live. Careful now. That which lies ahead does not yet exist. Our world will become a part of it one day, but I will not end. Nor will I have you end. Cloud, lend me your strength. Let us defy destiny together.
Leave me out of it.
How very stubborn of you. Perhaps you need a little push.
Sephiroth wants the black materia, presumably to call forth a meteor capable of causing catastrophic damage to the planet, as seen in Shinra's visual entertainment hall during Remake and also shown in Rebirth. Guy Natak also all but confirmed this function of the black materia when he begged the party to return it to the Guy.
Our ultimate salvation is cessation. It is nothingness. Our wish is not to exist, but rather to no longer exist.
It's hard to feel at ease around folks whose only desire is death. And if the planet won't let them have it, well, who's to say they won't let the planet have it?
We ask that you retrieve it. The black materia, key to our oblivion. Please. It alone can liberate us from this endless dream.
Sephiroth appears to have needed the party to help destroy the Whisper Harbinger and break the planet's hold over Destiny so he could take control of the Whispers himself. Perhaps to unbind those who were born on Gaia from the planet and the lifestream and maybe bind them to whatever Sephiroth wants to create?
They're not bound to the planet, and so she rejects them.
Because you have to come from the life stream to return to it.
Or is he trying to use the whispers in some form or some way as... What is his goal? Is he trying to somehow return Jenova to the live stream in some way so she can affect it at a deeper level? Don't know.
All born are bound to her. Should this world be unmade, so too shall her children.
So despite his desire to obtain the black materia and summon Meteor, outright destruction of the planet doesn't seem to be Sephiroth's actual intent. However, when Sephiroth grabbed the black materia in Rebirth, he called it
the key, which grants access to the true counterpart hidden between worlds.
And we know Sephiroth didn't want the remake Beagle world to have a white materia, because when Cloud still possessed it after his time spent in Aerith's dream world, Sephiroth stated,
"That doesn't belong here. Very poor form."
While we don't have enough information by the end of Rebirth to understand why, the existence of a white materia is clearly not something Sephiroth wants. And perhaps he even formed the Singularity at the end of Remake, knowing Aerith would need to use or empty her white materia to modify it as she did, thus his way of getting rid of it? And the concept of a reunion has been referenced many, many times.
Many times.
A touching reunion.
So many times.
For the future is bright. We are to bear witness to the reunion of worlds.
Again, it's not just reunion of the black robes to the Northern Crater. That's not the reunion that Sephiroth talks about anymore. That is not the reunion. It's the reunion of worlds, which just gives this whole theory so much more weight.
Reunion.
And based on some very specific lines of dialogue during the Temple of the Ancients, it seems extremely plausible Sephiroth is trying to reunite all of the worlds which make up the planet with the intention of making it and Jenova whole.
Mic drop.
Yet I shall remain. I, son of Jenova, will at last claim my birthright. My dominion shall reach into infinity. It shall encompass worlds unbound by fate and histories unwritten. My fragmented mother, these errant worlds, all shall be one again.
He says it in the game and we've just glossed over it. Obviously we probably haven't glossed over it, but we've just attributed it to a different thing, different reunion. Obviously with all the Jenova cells, like the Soldier Project, Jenova being like fragmented in that way, we probably linked it to that more than anything. But my fragmented mother, these errant worlds, all shall be one again. They go hand in hand. This theory is so incredible, man.
The reunion.
All made whole.
All made whole.
Forever.
Forever.
There's no such thing as forever.
Ah. But there will be.
This statement seems to tie back to what Sephiroth said in the Nibelheim reactor way back at the beginning of Rebirth.
Together we will reclaim our world, and I know exactly how we can do that. The Promised Land. But there's no need to be sad, Mother, because I'm here for you, now and forever.
Maybe the Promised Land is not just a specific location in one world as Shinra thought, but instead only exists when all of the worlds are united as one? Sephiroth's every move appears to be leading to a reunification of the worlds of the planet and Jenova, as foretold by the Cetra in the Temple of the Ancients.
It's upon us. The reunion, when worlds merge. When spite and sorrow are harvested to feed the planet.
Heed well our warning of that which is to come. The reunion. When our adversaries' scattered malignancy shall converge to plague the planet once more.
Even this line, when our adversaries' scattered malignancy shall converge to plague the planet once more. Like, even the Cetra talk about it. When this cancer converges to plague the planet once more. Like, it's all right in front of us. It is all right in front of us. This is insanity, man. When our adversary's scattered malignancy, it's scattered, man, shall converge to plague the planet once more. Obviously, with the double meaning of reunion, whether it be the reunion of worlds and what this theory was representing, or just the base reunion that we know from OG of, you know, the black robes and all of the Genova cells reuniting at the Northern Crater. And that way, I mean, both make sense with this line, but they're really focusing on scattered and fragmented. And they're also, when they say these words, you know, like fragmented and scattered malignancy, the piecing it together, also talking about the world's being scattered and fragmented as well. So that they're intentionally linking these two things, with Genova and the worlds being scattered and fragmented. So it goes hand in hand, and it makes sense to link them together, you know? Whether that's a red herring or not as well is to be decided, you know? We don't know. But god damn, it is right in front of us. That line right there, right in front of us the whole time. Insane.
Malignancy shall converge to plague the planet once more.
And while we've gone over most of the evidence to that effect, there's still one disturbing part of Sephiroth's plan that I still want to address. From what we've seen across multiple worlds, it appears Sephiroth is intentionally hunting Aerith in every world with the intent to kill her.
This is something we knew and we followed. It was very evident. He does not want her alive in any world.
As much to Aerith herself, twice.
So this is where you've been hiding, in a world that has accepted its fate. Just as you must.
Accept your fate.
How can you want this, Sephiroth? How can you want an eternity of loneliness?
Begone. Your part is played.
With this context, when Aerith runs at the introduction of Sephiroth's theme during the opening of the remake, a whole new meaning is added to that moment.
She's being hunted, man.
But why would Sephiroth go through such effort? Besides being extremely vindictive, what reason could he have to actively hunt her down? I believe we have a couple of clues to Sephiroth's intent. As we reviewed earlier, after people die and enter the lifestream, it takes a while before their energy in the lifestream then gives rise to new life.
In time, yeah.
Sephiroth's endgame has something to do with the creation of a forever, in which the cycle of life and death would be disrupted.
Ah. But there will be. Our world will become a part of it. One day. But I will not end. Nor will I have you end.
Sephiroth has been unifying worlds, resulting in the screams of the planet.
Yeah, the screams of the planet. So did the Cetra actually fragment the world, or was the world already, you know, were they already that way? Were they designed? Is that by design? Has the planet built itself with multiple worlds by design, and all the Cetra did was just fragment Genova between all of these worlds? Something to think about.
Listen to the planet, Cloud. To her ecstatic cries, her rapture.
Screaming! It's screaming!
What you heard just now were the voices of the planet. Those born into this world, who lived and who died, who returned. They're howling in pain.
Because of him, Sephiroth?
Their words, they don't reach him. All these moments and memories, precious and fleeting, they're like rain rolling off his back. And when they're gone, he won't cry or shout or anything.
From this, we can deduce that if people have died and their essence or consciousness is in the lifestream at the time those worlds are unified, they may cease to exist. And on the flip side of that coin, what would happen to the multiple versions of everyone who are alive and not in the lifestream at the time Sephiroth successfully executes the final unification? Do all of the worlds converge and suddenly there's a single version of every living person who ends up in one unified world and live together?
It's interesting, right?
But if Sephiroth really is trying to create an eternity where no one dies, it's entirely possible Sephiroth is trying to eliminate Aerith from all worlds prior to executing the final unification, leaving her spiritual energy in the limbo period across all worlds, so she wouldn't be present as the remaining Cetra to rival him in the new unified forever Sephiroth is creating.
The interesting thing about that, obviously with all the worlds colliding, what happens to each version of each person, whether it just gains one consciousness. But the thing is, all of these worlds exist. All of these people that are in each world will return to the live stream. So if it collides, whether they like memories and everything converge into one, and everyone just has the knowledge that the worlds were separate, but now it is one. Whether all people have that knowledge, or whether, you know, one world becomes the default and the rest of them sort of like converge in, but all the souls, all the memories from the other worlds just return to the live stream like they died. Whatever way it goes, it's gonna have a crazy effect on the planet. Because obviously knowledge is powerful, right? Knowledge is powerful, knowledge is dangerous. Whichever way it goes, if all the consciousness is like sort of converged like the worlds will be, everyone has this knowledge that this is the kind of thing that happened, like the knowledge of themselves across everything. And that applies to the party as well, which will make them insanely powerful as well. In regards to the theory that we had about, you know, Cloud and the clear materia that he has potentially being filled and forged with, you know, the memories of Clouds across the entire compilation, and him using that at the end as like a fucking level 20 million Omni Slash against Sephiroth, you know. If all these memories converge, you know, how is it going to affect everything as a whole? It's interesting.
Across all worlds, so she wouldn't be present as the remaining Cetra to rival him in the new unified forever Sephiroth is creating.
He has to be stopped by a Cetra. And I'm the last.
So there you have it. We set out to break down the lore and mysteries found thus far in the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, helping us all who were feeling exactly like Zack.
What in the hell is going on?
What is going on?
The case for how these puzzle pieces fit together in the way that makes the most sense. If you're with me and everything in this video makes a lot of sense to you too, let us know in the comments. Conversely, if you disagree or have your own takeaways from Remake and Rebirth, let us know as well and share your own thoughts with us. And for those fans who have only played the Remake series and are trying to remain spoiler-free until Part 3, I did my best to record this video without using any of the other information found in the Final Fantasy VII compilation, but I would just recommend being super careful when diving into the comments, just in case folks share more info than what was found in Remake and Rebirth. A big shout out to Blitz for helping me to give shape to the idea.
So it was Blitz that helped out with the bouncing ideas with this guy, with what's his name, John? Is it John? John Q. Big shout out to Blitz and John there.
He is bouncing around in my head. Go check him out on YouTube, Twitch, and all the socials. Also be sure to check out Kilika Beats, who provided all of the comments.
This graphic,
conversely, if you disagree or have your own takeaways from Remake and Rebirth, let us know as well and share your own thoughts with us.
So I feel like this idea that Jenova has been split among these worlds is awesome. Whether or not the worlds are split by design or they were split by the Cetra as like a last stand against Jenova, it's hard to say. It's very possible that the Cetra had the power to fragment Jenova, obviously with the knowledge of the live stream that they had and being able to talk with the planet. There's definitely ways that could have happened. This theory, I think, I think this puts the cherry on top. Obviously, all the theories we've had over the years of what's happening, I feel like this one is one of the best I've seen. I think this is one of the best I've seen, and it's the best because of the evidence that's backed up within the game. Within the dialogue, I think this video was edited so well, and it showed a lot of things so well. My only gripe is now my theory I had is no longer my headcanon. I still think Cloud has a massive part in all of this, but now I'm subscribing to the theory that the planets were split prior to Cloud being around. No, I don't. And here's why. The planet works, and the planet itself has a cyclical nature. It works in a cycle, right? Cycles being, it goes around and around. Things happen again and again. And whether that's time, whether that means the time in the planet is cycled so that things have happened before, they happen again, or whether that's more so just the life and death ebb and flow kind of idea. I might be reaching here, but I mean, with the whole cycle nature of the live stream, perhaps, Cloud's already been through a lot of things. There's potential that Cloud's memories have always been a part of the live stream, which sort of subscribes to my theory that time just doesn't exist within the live stream. These things are already happening, but it's just crackhead theory after crackhead theory, man. Thanks guys for hanging out with me for this over on YouTube. This has been a long video. I'm probably going to edit it down slightly to get rid of some of my blabbering and stuff, but I mean, an hour and 15 minutes is crazy for a 39-minute video. But if you did enjoy, make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in another one. Peace.